Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back. Today's episode of Bitcoin Monthly is recorded with Bitcoin Q&A and Antimus. We do it every month, and we do this so that you don't have to spend hours every day searching through all the updates in the Bitcoin and open source world. We do our best to filter out all the noise and get to the signal, but maybe there's a topic that you particularly want us to cover, or you have questions on something that we cover in this episode. If you do, you can send us a boost on any of the Podcasting 2.0 platforms, and we will cover it on the next show. Actually, we will probably cover it. If it's stupid or scammy or just nonsense, we won't cover it. And if you want your sats back, you can ask us. We might give them back, we might not. We might tell you to fuck off if it's scammy. Anyway, loads to cover in this episode, so we'll crack on. Before we start, I want to say thank you to Foundation Devices for sponsoring this show. We wouldn't be able to make it without them, and I appreciate that they sponsored this show despite knowing that I would shill their product to friends and family and listeners anyway. It really is the best hardware out there. It's fully open source, it has the best team in the Bitcoin world, and they're doing everything that they can to keep you safe and secure. QR scanning is piss easy with this thing. Envoy, their companion app, is beautiful, and the new UTXO management tool is amazing. We cover some of this in this show, so I won't bang on too much, but if you haven't already checked them out, you need to go to foundationdevices.com. I've put a link at the bottom of the show notes, but you can use the code UNGOVERNABLE if you do decide to buy one. You'll get 3 months of IVPN usage for free. foundationdevices.com. Finally, if you want the best Bitcoin node out there, again, fully open source and with the best team in the space, go to ronandojo.com. I've put a link in the show notes. You can use the code UNGOVERNABLE. If you decide to buy one of their Tantos or Tanto 2s, you will get a discount and I will get a few sats as a thank you for mentioning them. Everyone's a winner. Enjoy the show. We're live. Have you noticed we're now Ungovernable Misfits rather than Bit by Bit Pod?
I was going to mention it. Shit.
I feel like I've been waiting for this moment my whole life.
It's better, isn't it?
I was like, is he taking it off Spotify? Like, what the fuck? I can't find it anymore. And then I was like,
Yeah. The only downside with it is people can't really find us because we used to be right up at the top because it was B. And now we're U, so we're much further down. But people will find the signal eventually. I think it's better.
Good move.
I want to commend Mr. Linkin Park Rules for all of the work he's been putting in behind the scenes with all of the chapters and things like that. Really does add a really nice kind of professionalism to counteract the host. Exactly.
Yin and yang.
Perfect balance.
No, he's been fucking unbelievable. I love the little chapter bits where you can see, like, he's put GIFs in there and stuff like that. He's got that working somehow. There's, like, Mehdi with these, like, sunglasses and smoking a blunt. And he's got He's got the Foundation Devices thing spinning around and Altair Tech. It's fucking cool.
Nice work, gentlemen.
Yeah, very nice. I've seen you having a bitch and a moan, Q. What's all this dice rolls thing? Every time I go onto Twitter, which is not that often now, it's every time I go for a shit and I open it up and all I ever see is just you whinging about dice. What's going on?
Yeah, all right. So to set the scene, over the course of the last maybe 4 months, I've either had people coming directly to me or to people that I know who have either lost funds directly themselves or know people in their Bitcoin circles that have lost funds directly. The common denominator between all of these people, and I'd say there's probably 5 or 6 now, unfortunately, is that they have dice rolled their seeds using a specific hardware wallet that rhymes with Boltz, Bard. The critique that I'm about to give is fairly generic, okay? So these people have done dice rolls in a really shitty way, basically. They've done a handful of rolls, like less than 10. The seed that they've generated is dog shit, basically. It's on a known list of low entropy seeds that attackers just monitor, and as soon as any funds get dropped into those the addresses that are controlled by these crappy seeds, poof, see you later, savings, all gone.
Ooh.
Which is a horrible, horrible situation, and I don't wish it on anybody, right? So there's a couple of things here. Is like, number one, the main gripe and what I've been moaning about is don't do dice rolls to generate your seed unless you really know what's going on. If you don't fully understand it and you don't understand like the impact of dice rolls on entropy and how they convert to a seed word and blah, 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 then just don't do it. Hardware wallet manufacturers spend millions of dollars every year researching and implementing the best forms of randomness they can. So don't try and be clever because somebody on a podcast or on Twitter said that you should do dice rolls if you don't fully understand what's going on. I will caveat that by saying, if you do them correctly, the exact way that they should be done, then there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is, most people don't know how to do it properly, and there's a concerted effort from some influencers in the space to make this standard practice. And you get fucking Uncle Joe listening to a podcast for the first time, and he hears an influencer saying, you should do this, buy yourself a cold card and do dice rolls. And the fallout, unfortunately, sometimes is that those people don't understand the implications and they lose all their shit. And it's not a nice situation for that person for obvious reasons. So the main thing I'm moaning about is this shouldn't be pushed as normal standard practice. And then the other gripe, which unfortunately is directed to a specific hardware wallet, I'll let you guys read between the lines as to which one that is older versions of that firmware, which probably thousands of people are still running, has no software protections at all to stop uneducated people entering like 2 or 3 dice rolls and using that seed. So they're basically just allowing people to just give their money to attackers. I will caveat that by saying that later versions of the firmware in that specific hardware wallet have now patched this issue, and you have to put a minimum amount of rolls to generate a 12 or 24 word seed so that you've got sufficient entropy, which is great. Problem is, 2 things. There's thousands of customers out there that don't know about this because it's gone largely unmentioned by that company in question and all of the influencers that are on the payroll of said company. And the update is not available for the older device. They just don't provide updates for that anymore. So if you've got a Mark III hardware wallet that rhymes with Boltz, then you're shit out of luck. Make sure you know what you're doing.
Okay. Questions quickly. I'll get the stupid questions in before Antimus gets the smart ones. If someone is doing this, even if they're slightly retarded like me, if they do it and they do, say, 1 roll, okay, so they get their seed generated by the Cold Card Mark III on this old firmware, then they do 1 dice roll. Are you basically saying that whatever entropy was generated by the device, which was probably initially quite good, is now much worse because of the dice roll? Because I was under the impression that it was adding entropy and randomness to something that was already random.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, actually. So the answer to your question is no, it doesn't. That is additive dice roll. So you're already using the very, very, very good entropy generation that the Cold Card or any hardware wallet has. If you add dice rolls on top of that, you're fine. The issue that I'm describing earlier is where people go from 0 entropy and they do 3 dice rolls and they use that result as their seed.
I didn't even know that was a thing, because
Unfortunately, yes.
so that was like an advanced feature that is pushed by people, because that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, well, firstly, the most simple thing and a pretty fucking good thing is just to have the randomness generated by one of these devices, which, as you say, has spent millions of dollars to make sure that it's very, very good. And then just add a decent passphrase, because then you're not trusting the randomness and you're not trusting that hardware manufacturer that even if there was some way that they'd backdoored it or the entry wasn't very good, you've still effectively added more because you've got a passphrase, and so they're not going to get your funds as long as you've got the passphrase. And then if you're not doing that, which is like the most simple thing, then why not just add the entropy rather than just roll dice? That doesn't make any sense to me.
So the main reason that the talking heads have been pushing just the dice rolls is because they do that as a method so that you don't have to put any trust whatsoever in the random number generation of the hardware wallet itself. Which again, if you want to do that and you know how to do it properly, is absolutely fine. And I can see the value in that for advanced users. It's much easier to verify some dice rolls than it is to verify the 3 different random sources on a hardware wallet, which basically is impossible for most people, right? So that's the narrative and that's the push. But the problem is what I said earlier, plus the fact that most people doing this don't know how to verify the dice rolls, which is non-trivial. There are ways that you can do it, and there's the ways that allow you to have less trust in the hardware wallet random number generation. You can achieve it. The problem is most people are doing it because a talking head told them to do it, and rolling some dice and getting a resulting seed makes them feel nice and safe and warm and cozy.
Antimus?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the premise here that this should definitely be a power user feature and not something that is pushed onto everyone who's just getting into this. And there should be pretty strict guardrails implemented on the hardware wallet or whatever software you're using to generate this. There are 2 things. I mean, the one, as Q just mentioned, I think that is a valid point, that this is a method that is absolutely like deterministic from a user's perspective. So if I have 3 different hardware wallets and a software, just like a Python script running on my laptop, I can enter these dice rolls into all of these devices and I'll get the exact same result, which is cool to verify that they're all like running the software as intended, right? And I can do this a couple of times so that I'm sure that this is happening, and then I can create my final seed that I'm using long term on one of the devices. I think that is a valid use case, but obviously with the caveat that this is a power user feature and you should definitely know what you're doing. The next issue with this method is then, even if you are doing everything correctly from a procedure standpoint of rolling enough times, you still have to have good dice, right? If you're only using like one and that one's not manufactured well, then you'll still have a bias in your rolls. So this will lower your entropy as well. If you do roll 50, 100, 150 times, whatever, it won't be as easy to crack as if you roll like 3-4 times, but there still will be a bias in your entropy.
Good point.
Also there, you'll have to check that you have the correct dice. Ideally, check for biases yourself beforehand, use multiple dice, this kind of thing. So there are additional layers that you have to be aware of here, not just the fact that you have to roll a sufficient amount of times.
Just to be very, very clear here, by the way, my issue is not with dice rolls per se. I've done this before for my own seeds because I like to think that I know what I'm doing, right?
Arrogant, isn't they?
My issue is pushing this as standard practice for people that are just entering the space. And the second issue is a lack of software protection to stop people doing stupid shit. The latter has been partially fixed, but you can't fix the first one because it's people's opinions, and I just don't think it should be pushed as widely and as commonly as it has been. Because it's dangerous. We've seen that, unfortunately, in the last 6 months.
I've never heard, other than you on Twitter, I've never heard it mentioned once anywhere.
And you know why that is?
I speak to a fair amount of people in the industry, and I can imagine why that might be, but it's not good. You're fucking around with people's lives, and if that is the advice that's being given to use just dice rolls, people really need to rethink that. If you're really skilled, then fine, go for it, but it just makes no sense. I didn't know people were doing that.
Yeah, what I'd like to see is, and maybe I just haven't found this or seen this shared widely, but a comprehensive, in-depth article or tutorial or some kind of explainer of all the different variables that go into a process like that, and like what exactly to do if you want to be sure that you're doing this correctly. Because I think it's very valuable that, like you are doing, Q, like highlighting the issues. But I think there still will be a lot of people who want to do this, who think they have enough knowledge to do so, but still want or need some kind of like a guideline of the steps to take to be sure that they're doing this correctly. I don't know, maybe I've missed this, but it would be great to have that resource.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I say, the bare minimum at the software level, wherever you're inputting these dice rolls, if they enforce a minimum number of rolls, even if you've got shitty dice, you can be fairly confident that you're fairly well protected because there's that much entropy that your seed is kind of being derived from, that you've got that buffer zone that even if you're crap at rolling dice or there's bias in your dice or whatever, the fact that there's so many in there will give you some protection anyway. If we don't have that enforcement, that's where people will do stupid shit, unfortunately. So this is an isolated issue with a single manufacturer that's partially fixed it with their new devices. The old one's no good in this respect. The fix is just not there. But if you use something like Seed Signer, I believe they enforce minimum rolls, Antimus. In fact, I'm almost certain they do.
Yeah, it's 50 rolls for a 12-word seed and 100 for a 24-word seed.
Exactly. So you've already got that protection. So even if you throw a complete noob into this, the software has that basic protection in to kind of cover them against being a complete doofus. A lot of people, at least.
Yeah, that's good. And then presumably the advice would be to also use a passphrase on top.
Yes, in the right application. Exactly the same as dice rolls. They're a powerful tool if you know how to handle them properly. And passphrases are no different.
I think they are different.
It's difficult to say.
I think they are different.
No, I mean different in terms of I would never come out and say everyone should use a passphrase because I don't think it's right for most people, but for a lot of people at least.
What I mean is, like, if I'm suggesting to a friend who's like not that techie, I'd still say use a passphrase. I just really hammer in that you keep this separate, you write it down, you have it in two separate locations, you absolutely make sure that you have it right, and you understand that without this you're fucked. Because they're already writing down 12 or 24 words.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what's one extra phrase? That it's just like one extra thing they've got to keep. Like, I think for the extra protection of like them knowing, okay, even if somehow the device I'm using, however I'm generating my seed, is compromised, I still have some extra security. And it comes with lots of other added benefits and stuff. I think like the added benefit of doing that is massive. The added benefit of doing the dice rolls is more that you feel warm and nice inside when you do it, more than actually real security, especially when you're using good quality hardware. So that's my point, is like, A, it's easier, and B, it comes with more protections than dice rolls, so it's more important.
Yeah, definitely more secure. Completely agree with that one. I think we'll agree to disagree on that everybody should use one, but yeah, I completely with you in terms of the comparison with dice rolls.
Okay, well, it's good to know. I'm sorry to anyone who's lost funds. That's shit. I hope it wasn't everything. It's good that people know, and if maybe someone's listening to this who's done that, and if you have and you haven't been swept yet, then consider generating a new seed. And yeah, I hope it doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, see, that's sorry to drag this on a little bit, but that's the catch-22, right? There's bound to be people listening to this now that are going, I don't remember how many I did. And you can't go backwards from a seed phrase to work out how much entropy was used to generate that seed phrase. So it's like, you're never going to know for sure. So I apologize if this conversation for the last 20 minutes is going to worry some people, but yeah, I guess it just has to be said because I don't want any more DMs that are like, I did this and now I've lost this amount. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Well, it's better to err on the side of caution. Just because you haven't been swept now doesn't mean it's not going to happen. For the sake of, an hour or 2 hours or whatever it takes you to generate something new, it's also not the worst thing to think about your security and change things up every now and again, or at least refresh things. So
yeah. And please, nobody listen to this and start to panic and run out and go and do something stupid and start rushing with private key material and stuff like that, because that's also when bad shit happens. If you need any advice, I'm sure you can DM any of us. My DMs are open, but like, don't start panicking and do irrational things, because that's also when you can screw yourself out of funds.
Definitely. Closing question / comment is just to reiterate, it isn't a problem if someone has generated a seed on the device and then they've added entropy by doing dice rolls. That's not the issue. The issue is if somebody has created a seed using just dice rolls, that is the concern.
With not enough dice rolls is the crucial bit.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for bringing it to the attention. Now I actually know what you were talking about on Twitter, and I hope none of our listeners have been affected. Probably not, because we don't really shill that product, and we've never talked about doing that, I don't think, ever, but I hope it hasn't affected any of you. Lighter note, I've got a couple of boosts that have come in. We've changed across to using Saturn rather than Fountain, because I still can't fucking use the thing. It's driving me mad, and Linkin Park Rules has set me up with this thing. So I'm now reading all boosts from all different platforms that I can now do that I couldn't before. And from our last show, we have a few here. Revolution 77, fuck Ledger. That's very sweet. I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
I think that's the best boost I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's on point.
Yeah, so...
I'm not mincing his words there, is he?
John, these new Fountain features are very slick. Lincoln, you really have brought so much value to the pod. You're awesome. Can confirm.
Wait, is that John boosting himself?
No, it's John boosting our show.
Ah, okay. Oh, thanks, John.
This is from our last show.
Oh, okay.
MCOT 3D, cheers with 2 beers. Nick Hygiene. No, not Nick. Nicky Jean. Nicky Jean. Nick Hygiene. Nicky Jean. Thumbs up. Pies. Mushroom. Chad Farrow. Love the new podcasting 2.0 features you've added. I've been trying to get Marty Bent to add chapter to his podcast, and for some reason I can't see the rest of the message. 8 Mithrandir. High quality as usual. So thanks to everyone who is boosting. And if anyone wants to shout out and say fuck you to anyone else, we appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions, you can also reach out.
Cool. I love to hear this.
We got anything in the list?
Got a couple of things in the list. Yeah, it's been a bit of a busy month.
Okay.
Yeah, so just starting off with a couple of updates. We've got Samourai atomic swaps to XMR, so to Monero in public beta, and this is quite cool. So you've got like a desktop app that you can now use for atomic swaps. So if you want to jump over to Monero,
Used it?
I haven't used the app yet. No, if I've gone down this route, I've used Bisq
Okay.
up till now, but this makes things quite a bit more seamless. But it's a standalone app at the moment, so and still very like experimental. But I think there is a pretty large user base of people who do jump over to Monero for payments.
Yeah.
So I think this could grow in popularity, and we'll see. Maybe at some point we'll have this integrated into Samourai. I'm not sure if that's on the roadmap or not, but at the moment it's still standalone.
Yeah, we covered it a bit last month on sort of why you might use it. But yeah, it's cool to see. I've not yet used it. I'm still using separate swap services, and I only use it for TX zeros because it just seems to be the best option. It's good to see it growing. And there was also a massive drop in the price on Monero because they got delisted from one of the exchanges. So it's quite nice timing for people to do those swaps for their smaller amounts that they need to get out and change across.
Then we've got Boltz web app. They've now got Taproot swaps in there, which is quite nice. I haven't used that myself, but if you want to, it's just a nice way to rebalance your channels, so you don't have to. It's a way that you can switch backwards and forwards between on-chain and Lightning to refund your channels without having to open up new channels. So you can use Taproot there now. Now the last couple of days it's been less high fees on the in the mempool, but a couple of weeks ago that was a completely different story. So we'll see how that trend goes on, but it's nice to have these tools if you want to rebalance your channels without having to actually open up new ones.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to see the mempool a bit clearer, cheaper transactions. I went yesterday to go and make use of this and move some things around, and my node went down.
Ooh.
So, yeah, this morning I've been fucking around trying to fix it. I went actually to go and I had some issues on one of my wallets, so I wanted to go and sort that. That I couldn't do because it wasn't connected to the node. Then I ended up fucking around with the node, still haven't fixed that. So I can't actually make any payments at the moment, which is quite frustrating. But it is good to see these fees coming down.
I think it's quite ironic how Max and I are going out tomorrow together, and all of a sudden his wallet's broken, so he can't pay for anything. I see you. I know your game.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't do anything. All my bank cards have been frozen as well, so you're all right there, mate. You'll cover me, won't you?
I got you.
How low are we still going?
How low are we going? What, on fees?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't make predictions like that. I'm too dumb.
Wait, what's the question? How low the mempool's going to get?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We seem to be flirting with that 10 sat per byte number, but we can never seem to break below it. So there seems to be a fairly steady demand at the moment to keep it above that.
Yeah, single digits would be nice.
10's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, 10 feels like
Yeah.
free after the last 6 months.
Well, I had someone contacting me today, a friend of mine who'd got locked out and couldn't get into their wallet and was panicking and all this sort of stuff. So I said, all right, well, once they got in, just send the funds out to something else where you make sure you've written down your seed words and everything. And he was like, how much is it going to cost? I heard it's really expensive. And then I looked, I was like, about $1. So that's not so bad. I don't know why we're whinging about $1 or $1.50.
There we go.
Not bad for truly uncensorable money that you can send anywhere globally.
Yeah, I wrote to him. I said, look, you can do 2 or 3 transactions because you want to keep it separate. You don't want to merge all of these. So I said to him, just make the 3 transactions. It's going to cost you $1.50 each one. So, you should be all right with that. And he was like, yeah, I think I can afford this. This will be fine. Like, it's less of a panic because the way he said it at first was like, yeah, I've heard I'm not going to be able to make the payment and it's like pointless and the whole thing's failing. And I was like, oh, you need to turn Twitter off, mate.
I think that's good advice for most people, to be honest.
Yeah.
Myself included.
I heard these wizards have taken it over. No, we're fine.
We're fine. Yeah, on that note, it's good to see more Payjoin support with Mutiny wallet v0.5.7. So this is a wallet for Android and also for web, Bitcoin on-chain and also Lightning. And they've implemented Payjoin. So this is cool. I don't use the wallet personally, but I mean, this is something that we've been talking about for ages. Celebrating every wallet that implements these tools. So it's nice to see one more added to the list.
Very nice.
On that note, did you see, speaking of Mutiny and progressive web apps, did you see that Apple has basically nuked them all in the EU?
No. What?
Oh, lovely.
The ironic thing is, right, these PWAs were supposed to be like a workaround from Apple's walled garden and the App Store, right? And Apple came out yesterday with an update. I think it was yesterday or this week at some point with an update, iOS 17.4. It basically disables progressive web apps for all users in the European Union.
Fuck. But wait, wasn't there that they are implementing these alternative marketplaces in the EU? Is that related?
Yes. Well, they're being forced to do that, right?
Yeah.
But there's lots of caveats to it. The main one being that you need to have at least $1 million in capital to be able to publish an app through these third-party app stores. It's not the utopia that everybody thought it was going to be. There's still a shit ton of restrictions. They still have to give them a big cut of any in-app payments. So like, it ain't an Android replacement. But anyway, back to the PWAs. A quote from Mutiny about this yesterday that says, a foolish and malicious cop-out by Apple. What does this mean for Mutiny users? If you've installed as a progressive web app, the data is segregated. With the new update, Apple will bounce you to Safari, which still works. However, it'll be completely blank. Be sure to back up your seed phrase.
Shit.
Quality.
Not good. Hardly surprising, though. I mean, walled garden connoisseur doesn't like holes in their wall. Shock.
They do make a nice wall, though. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. The ecosystem they have is beautiful. Everything's just very slick. But, trade-offs, man.
All
Trade-offs.
just works.
But in this case, I mean, this is brutal. I mean, especially if you've got a hot wallet on there with your Lightning wallet, and you can't get access to that anymore and you don't have a backup. Oof.
The ironic thing here is that Apple is blaming the new EU regulations that roll in what we've just been talking about like all of the extra onerous requirements and additional app stores and things like that. Apple are blaming that as to why they've had to remove this PWA support for a safety feature.
Fuck.
So it's basically Apple sticking the middle finger up to the EU, which I can kind of, appreciate as a private business.
But just to be clear, the 1 million you need in reserves, was that for people wanting to list on alternative marketplaces, or if you want to run an alternative marketplace?
I don't know. I think it's if you want to list. And the other part of information I've just come back to me now is that every single app download costs like €3. So if you publish via one of these app stores, right, you have to pay Apple €3 for every single download that your app gets. I think it was €3. It's more than a couple of euros anyway.
Shit.
Wow. Why can't someone make hardware that's good that isn't Apple? Why can't this, do you know what I mean? There's got to be a fucking way that this can happen. I thought that's what was happening with Starbook. I was like, oh yeah, this is really nice, this is quality. And it's not. It's like Apple's retarded fucking inbred friend. It's shit.
I don't think hardware's the issue, especially in the phone ecosystem, right? The latest Pixels are mind-blowing, right?
Agree.
The issue is the software, and with Android, it's just an open source operating system, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have that walled garden where you can tightly control every single user interaction, it's never going to be as slick. You're never going to fix that.
I don't know. I think Android is pretty okay. I prefer using iPhone. I think it's better in terms of just usability, but it's pretty good. Like, I'd happily just use Android for phone. But when it comes to a laptop, the difference between using my MacBook and anything else that I've used running Linux is fucking night and day. They feel shit. They're plastic. They break all the time. Batteries fucking die. Just they're shit. And the whole ecosystem is shit and nothing works. And I've tried multiple different things over the years. And it's like, if you have like an iPhone compared to Android, maybe like the iPhone's 20% easier to use or something like that. When it comes to laptops, it's like tenfold.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree, especially for the average use case of people just doing run-of-the-mill day-to-day stuff. Then yeah, I would agree, because it's just more mainstream. And I think the biggest selling point is all of the integrations. If you've got an iPhone, an Apple Watch, a MacBook, all of that shit just works together. It all hands off from one to the other, and it all, like you say, it just works. And that's what most people care about, isn't it? No, most people don't give a shit whether their operating system is open source and whether they can verify the fucking binaries and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then you throw in a few AirTags in there.
Yeah.
What do we make of the Apple? I was going to call them Apple goggles then. The Apple Vision.
They're really good, mate.
Continue.
Well, they're fucking amazing. I got mine like 2-3 weeks ago now, and it's a game changer.
Have you got your Pornhub subscription yet?
I don't subscribe because I'm quite tight. You can get most of it for free.
Fair.
But yeah, it's really good. Like, I can be doing my editing whilst having a wank, taking shit, and doing a bit of light reading on Twitter. It's just a game changer. I just think, like, I had too much time and bandwidth before. Now what I like to do with these things is do at least 10 things at once really badly. It's just a better experience.
Do you know what the best thing about the whole release for me is that every single internet meme has been rebirthed, but with people just wearing Apple Vision. And it's just every single meme, even if I've seen it a million times, with Apple Vision Pro on, the people that are involved, it's just funny again.
So you haven't bought some then?
No, not yet, no. Can't see myself doing so anytime soon.
Antimus, thoughts?
No fucking way. I mean, it was a pretty genius move to have like the screen recording, and like so anyone can just like record what they see. So it's like really easy to post videos about this. That was a pretty nice move to have that, because it's just the amount of free marketing for that thing was insane.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
But it's like, what, 5K for something that's going to be absolutely outdated in 2 years, or like 1 year?
Yeah.
I don't think it will have the same stability as like a MacBook or something that's still usable in 5 years.
No. But you can like watch movies. If we go back a few years, like, being honest, would I actually like this? If I went back sort of 4 or 5 years when I smoked a lot of weed and like liked watching movies and like fucking around, I probably would have loved these. If you're at home alone, no one's around, you haven't got a family, and you just like put these on and get immersed and get high, it probably would be quite cool. If we're honest with
I
ourselves,
agree.
it would
Yeah,
be pretty cool.
I think one of the main things, well, one of the only things I'm really keen to try with these things is watching a movie in them.
Mm,
I think it would be awesome to just like, set the screen as big as you like and
yeah.
just, like you say, get immersed into it. But you see videos of like people using these on the train and in public, and it just looks so tragic.
Oh, it's fucking retarded. I would never go in public like that. You just get mugged. We live in the UK. If you walked out in either of our cities and you wore them, you're going to get mugged immediately. Immediately. Or someone's at least going to spit on you or call you a cunt.
Yeah, completely right. Speaking of the C-bomb, actually, Max, I was on a podcast yesterday with a chap from Discovering Bitcoin. His podcast is called, and he wanted me to pass on his commendations for your use of the C word. So here it is. Well done.
Oh, he likes it.
Oh yeah, he loves it. Yeah.
Good lad.
He said that was the best part of the podcast.
It's the only good part of any of my podcasts, I think.
He's an Aussie though, so I mean, they
Yeah.
kind of like that word as well, don't they?
They do. He's a good cunt.
I thought that was baseload then.
What else have we got?
We've got Zeus v0.8.1. So they've got Nostr contact import as well as standalone POS, so point of sale. Yeah, the first Nostr contact import, so you can just like import your public key, and this will automatically import all of your contacts into Zeus, and so you can then directly send payments via Zeus to anyone you have added on Nostr. So this is one more bridge between the ecosystems.
Is Nostr, is it fucking pointless or is it good?
I don't know. I've been like going backwards and forwards like every like 6 months. I'm like, I'll give it another shot. It takes like a week or two, and then it kind of drains out again, and then like I'll do another round in a couple of months.
My gut tells me it's a bit shit. And then, like, I keep getting people pop up and be like, oh, yeah, you got to get on Nostr and do this Nostr stuff and Nostr and Zaps and people all, like, hyped about it. And I'm like, every time I go on there, my experience is a bit like, it's a bit shit. Like, I don't really understand it enough to get, like, excited about the technical side, any of that. I just never find myself going, oh, I'm going to go on Nostr today. Is that just me being dumb, or is there a point to all this, Q?
No, I've gone back and forth on it. I go back and forth on Nostr in the same way I do with Lightning, basically, where some days I think it's really cool and it shows a lot of promise, and then other days I think it's really shit, and then I won't touch it for like 3 weeks. So I think maybe the underlying tech has some potential, but purely as a social media replacement, it just bores me, to be honest. Like, it's very much just an echo chamber at the moment. It's just Bitcoin Twitter with a bit less toxicity, so I don't need 2 of those in my life.
Yeah, the issue is also that it's like a whole new ecosystem, right? It's not just a different like social media app. Like you've got one app and you just open it up, and every now and again you got improvements. Like you got to kind of stay on the ball and like check that there are loads of different ways to access it, and then there are new improvements on this app but not on this app. And then if you're using Android, you got to do different things than on iOS and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like the amount of stuff you got like kind of keep track of is a lot higher than just having like one social media app to access this. So maybe this will like consolidate over time, and there'll just be like more standard ways to do this, and it will be more accessible. But at the moment, I've still got the feeling that, well, at least this is like from a couple of months ago, the end of last year, the last time I kind of dabbled there a bit.
Okay, well, I'm not alone then. I sometimes wonder, like, oh, am I really missing something? Should I really focus some more time on this? And then every time I'm like, no, I haven't got time for it.
I while we've just been talking, I have just imported my Nostr contacts into Zeus, and I will say that is pretty fucking cool. Like, I just pasted in my NPub, and now I've got hundreds of people in there that I don't need to like type anything in. I can just tap on their face and send them some sats.
That's quite cool.
I'm not saying you can't do that without Nostr, but again, it's about, for me, the benefit and the selling point is how the underlying technology, like basically just a private public key pair, it enables you to interact with your contacts in a number of ways. I've just described one where it's importing them as contacts and I can just send them some sats without interacting directly with them. Like, that's a very cool use case. I think it's stuff like that that is going to be the selling point versus, just a Twitter replacement.
Yeah. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's just that it's early and it's cool for people who are really techie and have time on their hands and get excited about it. But it's not that cool yet for people who can't really be asked to fuck around with it. But it could be. There's definitely promise.
Yeah. The other thing that Zeus implemented was the point of sale. Up till now, the only option you had there was basically a BTC Pay server. But here you now have the point of sale terminal within the Zeus app. So you can put in some products and have like a nice little dashboard for customers to fund, or you can like use it yourself. But if you're selling something somewhere, then you can quickly select a product and whatever with taxes and all that kind of stuff, then quickly spin up an invoice.
Very nice.
Next on the list is Nunchuk. So there's a bunch of different updates for desktop and Android and iOS, different version numbers, but at the end of the day, it's the same updates. They've updated their Byzantine package for collaborative custody. But the one update that was pretty cool was like the cancel feature via RBF. So if you send a payment and then you want to cancel it before it's been confirmed, you can do so with the cancel feature, which is just a lot more intuitive than using RBF to send back to yourself again. So this is just for users. It's a layer of obfuscation, but yeah, it's a large usability improvement in my view, because I think there are a lot of users who aren't quite sure exactly what all these abbreviations actually mean and how to use them. So just knowing that there's a button to cancel your payment that's active for a certain amount of time is a lot more intuitive to use.
Yeah, big fan of this feature. We've got the exact same thing coming into the next version of Envoy as well. Massive usability improvement for basic customers, that if you use like a banking app or something like that, like you always are used to having that ability to kind of cancel or go back on a payment if you did the wrong thing or something like that. So having the ability to do that within Bitcoin is important in my opinion. So yeah, hats off to the Nunchuk guys.
Yeah. And even for those who do know what RBF is, I've been in a few situations, once myself and twice also via other people who contact me who either sent a payment to a wrong address, or in another case, there was actually someone who had their funds swept and was trying to retrieve this. So having a quick solution to do this and not having to import into a wallet that has RBF capabilities and then getting your own receive address and all that kind of stuff and punching it in and all that hassle under a high stress situation. It's great to have this solution. All right, so that was it for the updates. We've now got a few like news points as well. So first of all, the Bitcoin developer mailing list has migrated from the what was it beforehand of the Linux Foundation, hosted by them, and has now been pushed to Google Groups. So obviously there was a bit of pushback there in the community, going from the Linux Foundation to Google. But at the end of the day, there's not much that relies on Google there. There are archives that you can host individually to preserve all the data, and you can hook up to this via different feeds. So it doesn't look great on the surface, but I don't think this is a major issue.
Just feels a bit dirty, doesn't it? But yeah, from a technical standpoint, you're right.
Not in a good way.
Yeah.
So presumably it doesn't matter because all of what they're doing is out in the open anyway. So you presume that it's seen by wherever it's hosted anyway. I mean, it's open source. It's kind of like anyone can see it. So it doesn't matter, I guess. Is that the point?
I presume the only downside is that I don't know if you can use Google Groups and actually post without having a Google account. I don't know about that.
Oh, that's cunty, if that's the case.
I believe you can. Yeah, I think you can. Expect to get rug pulled on that in the future, though.
Yeah, because that's a
Yeah.
big
I
one.
know you can definitely read, so you can get feeds even outside the Google groups, so you don't actually have to use their website to get a feed. But I don't know if you can post.
Okay. Well, for now, it doesn't bother me too much other than the name, but we'll see. Let's see.
I mean, GitHub's owned by Microsoft, right? I mean,
Exactly. Which is worse? I don't know.
yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah. Spiral awards grant to Plebhash. So Plebhash is working on Stratum V2. So that's nice to see a grant being pushed that way. Still hoping that will be more widely adopted sooner rather than later, but I'm not holding my breath there.
I'll pester John about that if he listens to this. Can we cover that on the next show, mate? Can we go into a bit more detail? He can do some mining, digging, and find out something interesting about it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a push like at the end of the year, but that kind of subsided pretty quickly again. What was the pool called again? The new one?
Ocean.
Ocean. There we go.
That's who I use now. Quality.
Exactly.
Fuck Lincoin. I'm all over Ocean.
But I mean, they were like hyping it, and then they're like, yeah, but we're not actually going to use it at the moment.
But they are actually blocking transactions, so that's good.
There we go.
They are filtering spam, so I just like that about them.
To each their own. Yes, and we've got a European Bitcoin Energy Association. It's pretty funny. Yeah. There's there's a bunch of companies here from Germany that have come together. I think it's under the lead of TerraHash. They're trying to push Bitcoin mining friendly regulations here in the EU.
Good luck.
I'm not holding my breath. So it's like, all right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll hear much from them in the future.
No.
But I mean, we've had this at least similar themed topics over the last couple of months already. But there's been another phishing attempt, this time coming from Trezor again. So there's been unauthorized email impersonating via the Trezor email provider.
That's a new one.
Nice. This is actually pretty scary because they managed to get access via the email provider. This is the third-party email provider that Trezor uses, and the hacker got access to be able to send emails via the Trezor email server. So the emails actually came from Trezor, but were phishing emails which had a link in them, which directed also to a Trezor website and then redirected further to a site that sweeps your funds if you enter your seed. So this was a pretty sophisticated attack. Yeah, pretty scary.
Pretty wild. That's seemingly coming from a legit email address, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there are obviously a lot of precautions that you should take if you get one of these emails. And the first few precautions to take or checks to make, this would have passed. So that is scary. But at the end of the day, the same like best practice holds. Like, never click a link in an email. And if you think this is legit, go to the official website and or check their Twitter page or whatever channels they use to put out new information, and double, triple, quadruple check this information before doing anything. And whatever you do, don't put in your seed words. But this standard topic.
All of these types of scams, be it originated from Telegram, email phishing, whatever it is, all end up with the same solution for the scammers, is that they want you to enter your seed words into a website, generally speaking, because it's easier for them to spin up, or an app that they will send you. If anybody is asking you to put your seed words anywhere other than your hardware wallet, it's a scam. Simple as. Just don't do it.
This is the last point on the list for today. Bitwise. This is so one of the ETFs. I mean, usually these aren't topics that we highlight here, but it was actually quite cool to see that they open sourced or published their Bitcoin addresses. So you can actually see the funds coming in, going out, and sitting there. I think this is a good good move by them. They were using like legacy addresses at the beginning, which is pretty funny to see. And it's also single sig, like holding millions. What they're holding, something like, I don't know, a couple of thousand Bitcoin. Yeah, but they've moved to Segwit at least now.
These are the ones that are pledging like a percentage of their profits to fund open source contributors, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think it's a pretty large portion as well. I think it was something like 10-20% or something of their profits.
Oh,
Pretty large. So yeah, if you've got some funds that you have to keep in the system, well, this might be the best of the worst.
I have just found a couple of points that we missed off that are worth raising. First one is Whirlpool GUI latest update 10.4. They have now added the mix to external XPUB feature, so that the feature that you've been able to do through the Sparrow GUI for a while now is now also available in the GUI of Whirlpool. So if you're kind of a fan of using that over Sparrow, then you can now have that same functionality.
Ooh, that's nice.
Man, I've been waiting for this for years. Nice.
The final piece is a follow up from a bit of doom that we spoke about a few months ago around the European people, regulators, wanting to backdoor all encryption and make encrypted chat basically outlawed and make it completely backdoored. The European Court of Human Rights have turned around and give them the middle finger and said, no chance on your fucking bike, which is awesome to see.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
very unexpected.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been blown out. You can carry on using your WhatsApps to talk about EastEnders completely privately.
That is good to see, though. I am surprised by that. You just never know what these guys are going to do, but I wasn't expecting that. Can we just go back to this mix to XPUB thing for a second before we move on? This you're saying is in the GUI, and you're going to be able to access it on there.
The desktop GUI, to be clear, not the mobile application.
Okay. As in the old GUI, not the UI, not the Ronin UI.
Correct. The old standalone desktop application called Whirlpool GUI. Yeah, that's where the mix to XPUB is. I don't think it's in the Ronin UI yet. In fact,
Really?
let me just log into my node and just double check.
You can monitor all your mixing in the UI now.
Yeah, I just don't think the mix to XPUB is there, if I'm honest, in Ronin yet. I will let you know in like 10 seconds.
Okay.
But the functionality is in Dojo, right? So
Yep.
presumably it's just a UI issue that they have to
Mhm.
implement in Ronin Dojo, right?
Yep, exactly.
Because it's nice now having the mixing in the UI, because I don't particularly like the GUI. I like to use the UI if possible.
Yeah, it's just all in one place, and it's just another piece of software that, end state, hopefully you won't need to use because it's all in your beautiful Ronin dashboard.
Which is beautiful. That is fucking nice.
Mm-hmm. And as is typical, because you guys are waiting for an answer for me, it's been a little bit slow and I cannot log in.
At least yours is still running.
Here we go. It's thinking about it. You might have to fill for me for 30 seconds, guys.
Okay, all right.
No, you can just stop mixes, monitor your mixes, and receive to your deposit wallet.
Okay, all right, fine. Okie dokie. Well, it's cool that it's in the GUI. I'm sure it will at some point come to the UI as well. But yeah, good to see.
Cool.
100%.
Anything else, Antimus?
Well, that was it from the list. I don't know if you guys want to touch on anything.
Yeah, I do. Why do you never respond to any of my messages anymore?
You walked into that one.
Every time I contact you, it's like, mate, I'm so busy. That's all I get, like, if anything. What do you got going on over there? What's happening? What's new?
What's new? Well, busy start to the year. The last couple of months has been a lot of private stuff, getting that in order, shifting a bit, which has been nice. But from Vulcan, we're just pushing out the shipping, so that's all more efficient, and we can get those shipping times up, getting everything on a more reliable basis. So looking forward to getting all of that sorted.
Cool. Because you've got now all of these aluminium cases, also the seed hammer, is that right? You've got those now?
Yeah, we've got these steel seed signer cases. They're from XMR Street. That's the guy who produces them. We have the V2 now, which is a bit more streamlined. So we've got them in large quantities now. Eventually, that was cool to see. And the seed hammers, they'll be here in a couple of weeks. So for anyone he doesn't want to punch their steel QRs by hand, and wants to have a fully integrated multi-sig backup on steel. This is the machine to get. So we'll have them in about 2-3 weeks.
It's so unreasonable that I want one because I really don't need to. I've got so many seed plates and that lovely stamp. What's it called? What was it you did before that you sent me? The seed mint, was it?
Yeah.
I've got one of those, which is fucking beautiful, but still, even though I don't need one, I really, really want the seed hammer. It's just fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, the value prop is pretty cool, as it is the only solution to have like a fully integrated multi-sig backup with a descriptor on steel. But obviously, it's not for everyone at the moment with the price point. I think the value prop is there, but you won't be using this for storing a couple £100 worth of Bitcoin.
It's unreasonable for that, but it's still fucking cool. How much are they?
We sell them for €7.99.
€7.99. That's not bad.
Plus shipping. No, actually, it's free shipping. Oh, no, but we don't actually. Well, there's one caveat to this whole thing. We only ship to the EU.
So I can't buy one then?
Well, you can buy one with Seed Hammer directly.
Okay.
We only do EU
right.
supply for the seed hammers. So we're the importer and distribute them within the EU, and that's free shipping. But outside the EU, it's Seed Hammer directly.
Okay. What about you, Q? Anything? You do actually respond to me. I've been annoying Q all morning trying to get things sorted where I've got problems. And he does respond because he's a good friend like that. Anything else going on other than me bugging you?
Good segue, actually, from talking about the Seed Hammer to the next Passport release, which is not out as we record, but it probably will be by the time this is edited and released. So
probably
Passport version 2.3.0 is coming out very soon, currently in public beta. And the reason I mention it in relation to the Seed Hammer is one of the features of 2.3.0 is you can now export the master seed via seed QR.
Ooh.
So you can throw that straight into your Seed Hammer and have it as part of your beautiful metal backups. Amongst other things, we also have full Taproot support for receiving as well as sending now. A new address explorer, so you can view all of your address types, receive, change, Taproot, segue, legacy, all that sort of stuff natively on device, and show them as QR codes as well if you wanted to. Also give you the option to have a 12-word seed instead of just defaulting to 24 if you let the device generate a seed word for you. Oh, and you can also now, if you're signing a message with an opt return message in it, then you can view that natively on the Passport as well. So if you wanted to do some spam transactions to please St. Luke and send him a little message on your Passport before you sign it off.
Nice.
I have a question on this being able to view all your addresses on the device. If you can do that and you can view all addresses and view the QR, would it be a stupid idea for somebody to have one of these devices and then not use something like Sparrow, which is what's the correct term for it?
Coordinator, maybe?
Coordinator. That's what I meant. Yes, coordinator. Would it be reasonable for somebody to do that if they're just using it for cold storage, because then they're not potentially fucking up and exposing their XPUBs and linking it in some way to themselves?
So, yeah, kind of. I mean, there's some caveats. Can you do that and just show a QR code, scan it with BISC or whatever, and use that to send your sats directly to? Yes, absolutely. The caveats are Passport doesn't know when you receive to any of them addresses, so you've got to be careful that you don't reuse them. And also that, okay, great, it's great for just receiving, but when you want to come to spend, like, you have to have a coordinator to construct that spend for you. So it'll only get you so far, and you've got to be very careful how you do it, because you might reuse addresses, because it'll just start from address number 0 every time, and then you just scroll to view which one you want. So unless you're logging that offline somewhere separately, then I wouldn't advise that behavior.
That makes total sense. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, the spending bit and also the reusing addresses. Because when I was thinking, like, I'm pretty sure in Envoy, it doesn't re-show you an address. So, like,
correct,
you put receive, and then if you go off, it will show you a new one. It never shows you the same. But obviously that's using a coordinator which knows, whereas the passport doesn't. So, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Are you guys going to be in Madeira?
No.
Nope, same here, unfortunately. I don't even know when that is.
That is now, I think it starts on the 1st till 3rd of March. I think maybe it's the
bet
day
you're
before
going.
or after or something.
I can
Yeah.
almost guarantee. Yeah, there we are. This guy lives the fucking high life, doesn't he? He's never not away. How's the tan?
It was a pretty, it was just a couple of days ago we got the opportunity. So we'll be having a seed signer and seed hammer workshop there.
Ooh, okay.
So it would have been cool to catch up with you guys.
Are you halfway out the door already going to Madeira? Because you sound terrible. Suddenly sound like you're down a fucking well. Yeah.
It's better. No, I'm still here.
Okay,
What?
all right. I just thought you were sort of on your way out to Madeira.
See ya. No.
Okay. Well, I hope you have an amazing time there, mate. It looks pretty cool. A lot of people are going.
Yeah, that island I think is pretty sweet, but I've never been, so we'll see.
Yeah, it does look good. I think there's a lot of art and things. I know a lot of people are sending some bits out there, and it looks pretty fun. Should be some sunshine, and yeah, the island looks nice.
And they've like rented a whole stadium, a football stadium or something. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So if anyone listening is there, give us a shout and come by. We'll probably have a little stand in the corner somewhere.
In the corner.
Yeah.
Tucked away.
I think one of our designers is actually heading out there, so I'll make sure he heads over and says hey.
Ooh, cool. Oh yeah, and one thing I nearly forgot. We'll be having like a treasure hunt. So if you want to get some free sats, you can. We'll be spreading out some seed hammer plates and like a 5 of 5 multisig.
Okay.
And spreading that around the venue. So you have to find all 5 shares.
Yeah.
And import them, and then you can sweep the sats. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Foundation didn't want to send you out, Q.
No, I am heading over the Atlantic early in March for some Bitcoin-related activities, which I can't really talk about in great detail yet. But first week in March, I'm going to be over in the good old US of A.
Okay.
Nice.
Lovely. Right, boys. Well, if that is everything, I think we're done.
It was a short one.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't short. It was succinct.
That's it.
Concise.
Yeah.
Concise.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you get from us. Quality information.
I think 20 minutes of it was me ranting about dice rolls, though. So.
No, I mean, sometimes you can be a bit boring with these things, but honestly, that is important. Like the fact that people have actually had funds swept and it's not being talked about is a major problem. Half the time when I hear about security stuff, it's people moaning and bitching and whinging about things that are so theoretical and have never happened and probably never will.
Yeah.
And they get talked about, but people actually losing their savings isn't being talked about. That's a problem. So, yeah, I'm glad you are whinging about it.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
Yeah.
As always.
Speak to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.